Yeah, I'll just quickly have some announcements, and I think we can start.
Sure.
Yeah, so I hope the participants are joining. Okay, we have 34, and all right. So let me share my screen. I'm not sure if it is visible, but okay. Yeah, Puneet already gave a brief introduction. So this is organized by Global OT ICS-SCADA security professionals, and this is first of the many upcoming sessions. Thank you, Mr. Daniel, for joining and enabling your presence. So have some house rules for everyone. Hope you're not driving. If you're driving, kindly stop and you're in a safe place. And this session will go off for 1 hour 15 minutes with 15 minutes for Q&A session. Kindly mute yourself. We'll have Q&A session based on the instructor's preference, but I would suggest end of the session, and questions will be managed using the Slido website. So the Slido link will be shared in the chat. So do not enter any questions in the chat, so we might miss them or difficult to track. And of course, the WhatsApp chat group link will be shared in the chat as well. And the feedback form link will be shared in the chat during end of session so that we get to know your feedback, and we can incorporate them in the upcoming session. All right. Mr. Daniel, yeah, thanks a lot, and you can start.
Okay, good afternoon to everyone. Good evening to all the audience. Let me see if I can. Do you see my correct screen right now? Just 1 second. Oh, this is. Do you see my correct screen or not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Where is the? Every time we have here some. I think that because you shared your screen, you need to release it. I think that otherwise I cannot share my screen.
Yeah, I already stopped sharing.
Maybe he needs access for sharing. Screen sharing.
Yep.
Now it's okay. Okay, excellent.
Perfect.
So
yes,
sorry for the technical delays. Good evening, good afternoon to all of you who registered for this show. I appreciate the team in India who initiated this session. My name is Daniel Ehrenreich. As you can see, I have many years of experience, over 45 years in the industry, and the past 10 years, I'm dedicating my activity to industrial control cybersecurity, and I'm the leading lecturer in Israel and conduct sessions in many countries around the world, including Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong, Poland, and obviously Israel and many other countries. The goal of this presentation is to help people correctly understand the topic of industrial control systems and make sure that from now on you will be able to make better decisions. When we speak about industrial control systems, we are talking about 10 more or less key applications, and we call it cyber physical. Please do not use the term critical infrastructure, because today everything is critical. For different people, different things are critical, but let's use the term cyber physical applications, meaning operations where something is moving. So not only data, but actual physical processes. When we speak about industrial control systems, I want to tell you something very, very important. Industrial control system is a role for experts. It's the role for experts. Everyone who wants to be involved in this area must understand. This is not role for IT people who suddenly come to this area. This is not role for other people who never dealt with industrial control systems. Why? Because people who are working, who are dedicating their activity to industrial control systems, they must understand the industrial process. Those of you who are familiar with the Purdue level, many people think that the Purdue level is old-fashioned and no longer existing, no longer valid. So please note the Purdue level is here and it's going to stay with us for many more years. And the industrial control system is primarily residing in level 0, where we have the actual sensors and actuators, level 1, where we have the control units, and level 2, where we have the operation stations. So in some cases, there is also level 3 involved. So never take the Purdue model as something fixed, because different organizations may build their system slightly differently. In some cases, level 3 will be part of the process. In other cases, level 3 will be only supporting the process. And about that, we have level 4 and 5, which refer to the IT level. We are not going to deal with these levels at this moment. So please remember these pictures. Why Purdue level is important? Not because you are going to build an industrial control system using the Purdue level. That's not the idea. The idea is that if you go to have a tour in a facility, first time in your life, you never saw this plant, this facility, and people are showing you all kinds of computers and boxes, you need to understand immediately at which Purdue level is a specific computer, controller, or a sensor. Once you reach that level of expertise, that you can immediately link between the Purdue model and the installed system, you can consider yourself as an expert. This is very, very important. And as I said, furthermore, I forgot to tell you that this session will be recorded. It will be available free to everyone who is interested in order to learn from it. I will appreciate if people will not use it for training other people. This is not the idea. All the slides are copyright for my operation, but you can definitely use it for learning. So not try to use any of the slides in other training sessions. Just learn from it in order to become an expert. So what is the difference between the IT and OT? During the past year, we start to hear all kinds of expressions like IT-OT convergence, like the gap between the IT and the OT is blurring, like, oh, these things will be converged together. There is no longer air gap between them. So please not refer to all these negligent and incorrect terms. I don't care who invented them, who is talking to them, whether it's a large organization or a small organization, they are incorrect and negligent and meaningless. IT refers to confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data. That's what is important. IT deals with data. When you have an attack, you may have a financial loss, database manipulation, data damage to reputation or reduced profit. Anything related to data refers to people and money. When we talk about industrial cybersecurity, we are talking about safety, reliability, and availability. In the past, I used the term SRP, safety, reliability, productivity. Not so much, no big difference, but you can use any of them, safety, reliability, availability, or safety, reliability, productivity. By the way, I introduced that term to the industry. So if you try to Google that term, most probably you will be directed to papers which I wrote. When we have a cyber attack against industrial control system, we are talking about outage, operation outage, damage to reputation of people who are operating that facility, the general manager, the board of directors, very bad situation, damage to machinery, and finally, injury or death of people. This is so critical. This is the reason why please don't use any of the rotated expressions like IAC, AIC, which was invented by IT people and some marketing organizations. Just use the term SRA or SRP, whichever you like. So this is very, very critical. I would like to show this picture. The picture is taken from the internet, but the meaning is that we have two types of attacks. An attack which starts on the left side and managing to compromise the IT operation and the barrier between the IT and the OT, and reaching the specific PLC, which we call crown jewel. This is the PLC which, if we reach that, we can create damage to facility. On the left side, you can see an internal attacker. It can be an attacker who managed to penetrate to the plant, or it can be an attacker who is actually an employee, a disgruntled employee. So pay attention to that and don't worry. I will continue to explain it. By the way, I didn't say that, but you have my email address on the set of slides. You can send me a question anytime, and I will be happy to reply, because the goal is improving the cybersecurity posture of industrial organizations. This is the goal. This is my role. And I dedicated my activity to that role. So you already see the triangle: safety, reliability, availability. On the left side, you see that there are only 3 attack vectors, not 5, not 15, only 3. Internally generated attack, externally generated attack, and supply chain related attack. And the goal is always safety, harming the safety of the operation. I would like to present you to those who didn't have a chance to see it until now. Many people surrounded by you, your managers, your employees, your customers, never spent a minute to understand what is the definition of a cyber attack against industrial facility. What is the definition? So Here you have the definition, and I'm going to read it carefully for you. Any unauthorized internal, external, or supply chain initiated electronic or physical activity conducted by an adversary which directly violates the process run by the industrial control system, and it threatens, that's important, directly threatens the operating safety, reliability, availability. So when you see many people are talking about famous attack like Colonial Pipeline, JBS, and Norway Aluminum, and the thousands of water utilities, don't worry about them. None of them match to this definition. This is the reason why worldwide, during the past 12 years, we experienced less than 50 cyber attacks which are matching this definition. I know many people will disagree with that, and this is fine. People tell, yes, but the operation was discontinued. Yes, but there was no supply of water on the oil and gas or whatever. I said, yes, this is correct. But if we want to act professionally, we need to have a definition of what is a cyber attack, and this is the only way that we will be able to deploy cost-effective cyber defense measures. So I would like to tell you, introduce the term, some of you may not know, insecure by design. Why is industrial control system insecure by design? And you will learn here many things that you perhaps never thought about it. These systems were designed for safe and reliable operation. Cybersecurity was never considered as a solution for industrial control system. Furthermore, you have a limitation of what kind of instruments you can deploy in line, internally in the control zone. You must be very, very careful when you are deploying all kinds of devices which interfere with the process. Never deploy any cyber defense mechanism which interfere with the process, because if that device fail or will be compromised, you have no idea what can be the outcome of that attack. Every person dealing with industrial control system must remember every software-based defense can be compromised, meaning all the firewalls, all the IDS, everything can be compromised. Intervention into the control process might risk lives. This is connecting what I said earlier. Physical security, physical perimeter security is precondition to cyber security. What does it mean? If you don't have a physical security, you will never be able to have cyber security. Finally, cyber security is a precondition to operating safety, which means that you cannot achieve safety if you do not have cyber security. So now you understand. Physical security, cyber security, and safety are nicely linked together. When we speak about the attack analysis, there are several processes, a 5-step, 7-step, 11-step, like the MITRE, Lockheed Martin, or a NIST framework. It always starts with the victim selection and finally end up with the attack. You must remember that if the attack is APT, Advanced Persistent Threat Attack, it means that the attacker will be successful. This you need to understand. Furthermore, I'm not going to show you this picture with the many letters, small letters, but you can see the list of the attacks, less than 50, less than 30, really not too many attacks. Majority of the attacks were ransomware, IT attacks for money. I know that recently people started to use all kind of negligent terms like OT ransomware. Oh, that. Don't believe to these people. OT ransomware will never happen. And I'm not saying technically not possible. It will never happen. Why? Because if somebody is penetrating to your industrial zone, he will not try to encrypt or steal meaningless data. Never. He will try to destroy machinery and risk lives of people. So OT ransomware is not a term that will happen, but let people talk about it who want to invent something. Probably many IT people like to say, well, there is also a ransomware to OT. No. I'm not saying it's not a technical question. It is what can happen. And this is what you need to understand. So you will have all the slides. I'm not going to read you all the lines, say what is important. We will talk about it. You need to understand the cyber kill chain. The cyber kill chain, originally known as Lockheed Martin cyber kill chain, it is the 7-step analysis. There is a better program called ATT, Mitre ATT. I'm not going to talk about, time is too short, but you can have the 5-step that I explained earlier, the 7-step, and also the 11-step of Mitre. Important to understand it, because this is the way how you will be able to prepare a defense for your facility. Let's talk about some slides which probably, unless you read one of my papers, you probably not see these slides. So what we are going to talk is, and I'm going to do it very quickly. Again, not try to copy these slides. These are slides which are copyrighted for me, but you can learn from it. Cybersecurity incident is caused by physical security, insecure design of the industrial control system done by people who are not experts. And finally, poor PPT, people are not trained, policies are not enforced, and use of legacy technology. So these are the reasons why incident can happen. Furthermore, and this is important, why incident can happen. Many people are talking about cyber attack. I say don't worry about cyber attack. Fact of life that less than 50 attacks happened during the past 12 years. You need to understand that there are 3 vectors: product failure, incorrect action by an authorized person, and only finally cyber attack. So you need to build a facility, an operation where you can detect why incident happened. Was it a product failure or what is the incorrect action? And if cyber attack, I already mentioned internal, external, and supply chain related. So worry less about cyber attack, worry more about how to assure business continuity of the organization and how to assure that life of people will not be harmed. This is what you need to worry about when you deal with this activity. Little bit more going to these details. So incident occurrence, it can be unsolved vulnerability. Yes, some vulnerabilities in the system, in the organization. I'm not specifically talking about ICS-OT. I'm talking about vulnerabilities in the organization. Someone has a motivation. Attack will never happen if there is no person who have a motivation and likelihood to succeed. Those people who are doing the attack, they have a good confidence that they will be successful. I would like to show one more slide. As you see, we are going very quickly because I expect that you will read the slides line by line later. So attacks against the organization might affect only the IT zone, pure IT attack like the ransomware, affect the IT zone, which may spread to the OT by compromising the firewall, by compromising the gap between the systems, affecting the IT zone, which have impact on the OT, okay? Impact on the OT. For example, what happened in Colonial, it was the IT attack, but it had impact. But why the impact happened? Because the people who designed that organization did not design it correctly. So incorrect design of organization system might cause a situation that it will have an impact on the OT. It should not happen. IT system and OT systems must be, and remember that, must be designed, deployed, and tested separately. They can be securely interconnected, but must never be built as converged system. Converged systems are a huge mistake, which might risk lives of people. And finally, directly affecting the OT zone, which like the Stuxnet, when people are penetrating to the OT zone. Final slide in this area. So attack can be an outage, short, long, or extended, damage to machinery, repairable, refurbished, and unrepairable, and risk to lives of people. Always remember the risk to life of people. How we are protecting our facility, as you know that there is no single cyber defense measure, no silver bullet, okay, which can absolutely protect the industrial facility. This is the reason why we always deployed layer defense, perimeter, endpoint, network, and control device. And we need to, and the only people who can design the defense are people who understand the process in the facility. Never allow IT people to design the cyber defense for industrial control system, because those people have no clue how the process is working, and they may bring all kind of ideas like firewalls and devices which are interfering with the process. They might deploy an IPS which is not correct. They might initiate a penetration testing which is not allowed, and so on. So deal only with people who understand the industrial process. I would like to show this slide. Okay, this slide is actually showing you how the process in the organization is working. So in the center, you have the definition of the security levels. In order to understand this, you need to be familiar with the 62443 standard. By the way, I have a training session on the 62443 standard, and not 5 days, not 2 weeks, but only 4 hours. You will understand the principles. Highly encourage that you consider this training. So we are not so much worried about security level 1 and 2. We will be mostly worried about security level number 3, which is done by people with resources and capabilities, and security level number 4, which is initiated by hostile countries which have unlimited resources. So from that center, you can go left and you can see what kind of assets can be attacked on the left side. When you go on the right side, you may see what type of defense mechanisms we can deploy, including the processes which start with analysis like the Lockheed Martin, Mitre, and or expert teams. In the bottom, you have the formula for risk analysis. Wait a moment, I will explain it again on the next slide. And finally, on the right side, you may have the impact. What kind of damage, what kind of true risk can happen if you operate a system which is not defended properly. I would like to show here the calculation of the risk. I'm already telling you, it is not the simple formula which is used by many people, risk multiplied by I multiplied by P. I is the level of impact, P is the probability. This formula is used in many documents. I believe it will disappear in coming years, and we must use the stronger formula. Risk is calculated by understanding the impact. Impact is the dollar value, the maximum. It's not a factor. It is the dollar value, the maximum damage that can happen, multiplied by the probability of your occurrence. You assume 1%, 3%, 5%, depending on how you feel, and multiply by known vulnerability factor. Yes, there is a vulnerability factor existing which increase the risk. You need to have a good feeling what type of figure you take in the range of 1 to 5. And finally, you refer to the factor D, which is the already deployed defense measures, which obviously decrease the risk. So why we are not going to continue this simple formula which is used in the standard? Because they are not taking into, that formula is not taking into consideration the known vulnerability and the deployed defense measures. So the risk will be finally not a factor, it will be a dollar value of the risk, which is calculated by that formula. Let's go further, and this slide is highly important. It's talking about the 3 factors, the BCP, business continuity preparedness. It is a process that you must have. Incident response, the action when you take during the incident, and finally the disaster recovery process. I can tell you immediately that many people misunderstand these terms. And because they misunderstand this term, they are writing all kinds of big documents about what to do and how to do. So let me try to improve your understanding. Business continuity planning is a process which lasts many months and years. Actually, the entire life of the plant. You always must prepare yourself to an incident. You must do analysis, you must improve your processes, but you must do that. The next step is incident response process, and I want to make it clear. Incident response process, you don't need to write any book about it, not a paper, not even 10 pages. Incident response is a process that lasts few minutes. Why? Because if there is an incident for whatever reason, and there are people who might be hurt, there are machines which might be damaged, you probably have a half a minute or 2 minutes to respond. If you don't have those people who know how to respond, forget about it. For machinery will burn to ashes. Many people can die. You need to have a short effective and very fast incident response action. Finally, the DRP, disaster recovery processes. I don't know, it can be hours, it can be days, it can be weeks. It depends on the BCP, how well you were prepared, and obviously on the IRP. If you acted fast and correctly, probably the damage was not very big. If you did not have the right people or the people were sleeping when the incident happened, sorry, the disaster recovery may take you weeks and months, and maybe you will never reactivate that plant. Let's talk few words about the 62443 standard. I already mentioned it. Remember that the 62443 is the only document which is standard. All the other documents are frameworks and the educating papers and nice papers to read. Only the 62443 will be the standard for industrial cybersecurity. And in this process, you have 3 players who must be involved and work together: the supplier of components, the integrator and maintenance service provider, and the operator and the owner of the facility. So 3 players. Again, I cannot go too much to details, but definitely in the training you will be able to learn it. And why it is important to learn 62443? Because you improve your knowledge about what is right. I'm now working with a big organization to transfer the previous documents into 62443, into compliance with 62443 standard. And I can tell you that the team which is working with me enjoys every minute of this process, because now they understand why and how things can be done correctly. Just one picture from the 62443 standard, and it's talking. By the way, here we use the term not ICS but IACS, Industrial Automation Control System. This is the term which was adopted by the group. By the way, I'm part of the 62443 group, which is defining the standard and the educating documents. For that, I'm part of that activity, and you can see my name on many documents which are released. So, what is important in this picture? It is the segregation. You see the segregation between the industrial zone in yellow and the IT zone in blue. What does it mean? That you have just a single connection between these 2 zones, and that connection must be cyber secured. Furthermore, you see on the left side the connection between the SIS, Safety Instrument System, and the Industrial Control System, and again you see just a single connection. Why single connection is important? Because if you have a spaghetti type architecture, multiple connection between zones, you will never be able to protect it correctly. Let's talk a little bit about defense mechanism. One of the important, defense mechanism is the next generation firewall. Why we are using the term next generation and not the standard firewall? Because the next generation firewall is capable to refer to industrial control system protocols. And this is very, very important. You have here a list, a link that you can use and learn more about the differences between standard firewalls and the next generation firewalls. Some people are telling you the difference between data diode and the firewalls. Many documents are available. The next product is the DMZ, Demilitarized Zone. Is a very nice solution connecting between the IT zone and the OT zone. And actually, it is a structure which includes 2 firewalls and some computerized systems within the demilitarized zone. So the idea is the data can never go from left to right or right to left. It must always be directed to the demilitarized zone for detailed inspection, analysis, maybe storage on the historian server. There are many good ideas where demilitarized zone is used. Obviously, you are using demilitarized zone in architectures where you must allow bidirectional communication. And I want to tell you very clearly, you not have to allow all the time bidirectional communication. Once you understand the industrial process in the organization, you can have a decision. So never accept that what people say that for business continuity, we need to allow connection between the IT and the OT. Never accept this negligent and meaningless term. You always ask a very simple question. Tell me why you want to have these sites connected. What is the purpose for connection? What are the benefits that you plan to achieve by connecting the IT and the OT? Only when you understand the explanation of the customer, only when you understand the business goals of the customers, only then you can make a decision if you need a data diode, maybe a reversible data diode, maybe a DMZ, maybe a jump host server, maybe a firewall, maybe a next generation firewall, I don't know. But you must start with understanding the process in the organization and understanding why the customer want to do the connection between the IT and the OT. I'm not saying that we live in the area where we can allow air gap. No, there is no more air gap. Even if people tell you that we have air gap, never believe them, because people don't really have an air gap. There is always a connection. If there is a legal connection that somebody deployed by understanding how the plant operates, excellent. If it's a negligent connection, start to be worried. Furthermore, the application control whitelisting, there are such processes which monitor if you are allowed to install certain programs on your HMI or on your computer. But remember, whitelisting is a software-based defense, and every software-based defense can be compromised. So if somebody will attack the whitelisting mechanism and include a malvertised program to be allowed, then yes, you will have a problem. The next topic is the use of the data diode. I can tell you very openly that many people do not understand how the data diode is working. Data diode is not a device which is transmitting UDP messages. That's not correct. It's not true. But a data diode is transmitting a one-way messages. It has 3 major components. It has the transmit server, a one-way fiber, and the receive server. The transmit server is is converting the TCP structured message into the data, into the value and to attribute, pass it to through the one-way fiber, and the receiving server is rebuilding the structure of the TCP. When we deal with the data diode, people like to ask two questions, only two questions. And one question is, how can I be sure that the data which is arriving to the receiving server is actually accurate? Because I don't have any acknowledgement, I don't have any feedback. How can I be sure? So for those people, I say, don't worry. It is a reliable structure. It has some heartbeat signals which are monitored. So at the moment that something will happen, somebody will break the fire, or somebody will compromise the receive server, you will get an alert that the system is not working correctly. But what is important is that if the IT operation on the right side will suffer a cyber attack for whatever reason, attack, incorrect action of the authorized person, that attack will never proceed to the industrial plant, and the industrial plant will continue operating even if completely the IT operation burned down. If it's what the management will do, it's another question. So yes, the data diode is the only solution, cyber defense solution, which is not software based. It has software, but the core of the defense has a hardware, which is the one-way fiber, the optical transmitter and optical receiver. Furthermore, I can tell you that occasionally the data diode can be reversed if you need to import data. Many people are asking me, oh, if you can reverse the data diode, so how can you be sure that cyber it is secured? So I said, yes, reverse data diode is not as good as the one-way data diode, but it's still better than a firewall or next generation fire, which is 100% of the time bidirectional. So again, you need to have the intelligence to understand how systems are working in order to make a decision if data diode or next generation firewall or jumped host server, any of these can be used. Another solution which is quite interesting, it is a Purdue level 0 monitoring. The idea of the Purdue level 0 monitoring is that you can add another sensor, you can add another controller, and you can improve the security of your process without, and that's critical, without touching the original industrial control system. So you have the upper link, which goes normal, and you have the lower link, which is going through a special PLC, a high-speed PLC, capable to perform a deep packet inspection and Fourier analysis, and no matter what you want. And finally, there is a server on the right side, which is comparing between the signals coming from the upper channel and from the lower channel, and that server make a decision if there is a problem. So where are we deploying these solutions? I shouldn't say it's suitable for every system, but definitely for systems which are high risk, specifically the system which are high risk, you can use this idea and reduce the risk that of harming machinery or hurting lives of people. The next topic is the anomaly behavior detection. Anomaly behavior detection is a passive mode for analyzing the situation. Passive mode, and why? Because we want to detect things which we don't expect. We can detect all kind of zero-day type behaviors using anomaly behavior detection. I am well aware that some companies are already claiming that they have an active process for detecting problems. I want to tell you, yes, it is possible, but there is a risk. Why there is a risk? Because active action within the industrial control system might harm the operation of the system, and the result can be damage to machinery and, in worst case, risk to life. I'm not saying that it is impossible. I say that if, for example, people are highly knowledgeable and they know exactly what they are doing, and they are well aware and they deployed complementing defense measures that no harm will happen to people and machinery, maybe you can do that. But never accept any vendor who will tell you, I can do for you active anomaly behavior without understanding how the process is working. It is a formula for disaster and formula for damages and formula for risking life of people. Finally, I would like to talk about what I already mentioned, the principle of connecting IT and ICS. As I said earlier, and I'm going to repeat it, IT and ICS-OT systems must be separately designed, separately deployed, and separately tested and commissioned. Verify the performance, verify that everything is good. They can be securely interconnected. IT and ICS can be securely interconnected, but only for 2 reasons, not 5, not 10, not 15 reasons. We connect between the IT and the ICS only for 2 reasons, and we must do it securely. Achieve improved productivity and achieve improved maintenance, meaning reducing the cost of damages or perform analysis of machinery. Yes, you can do that. So IT and OT systems can be securely interconnected, but must never be built as converged network. Tell all your customers. Yes. Tell all your customers that these must be built as separate system. You can use a data diode, you can use a DMZ, you can use a strong firewall, depend on what you feel is suitable, but never build them as converged network. Furthermore, I want to give you advice, never use the term IT-OT convergence. Why? Because many people don't understand what that means. And if you want to try if I'm right or wrong, ask 10 people what that term means, and you will get 30 answers, meaning that people completely misunderstand this term. We are engineers, we never use any term which we don't understand. Let's talk a little bit about secure remote access. I can tell you openly that in the past, we used to say, never allow remote access unless for saving lives of people. never allow remote access. However, we all experienced the COVID situation during the past years, and we had no choice but to allow remote access. So now we say secure remote access. And what does it mean, secure remote access? You need to know who is connecting. You need to identify that person by the name of
Daniel, you're muted. Not able to hear. Sorry, Denrich, sir.
Now it's okay? Now okay?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Yes,
Okay. Sorry, something happened. Anyway, all good. So secure remote access was in the past not allowed. We always said only to save life of people, you can connect remotely. However, because of the COVID situation, we changed our mind, and now we allow secure remote access. What does it mean, secure remote access? It means you need to know who is connecting, identify that person by the name of his grandmother, identify the computer that he is using, supervise what that person is doing, and when the task is completed, immediately block this feature by disconnecting the cable which was used for remote access. So we need to be, I say yes, it is allowed, but you need to be very, very careful. Furthermore, let's talk about penetration testing. I already mentioned that. Penetration testing or any kind of intervention or any kind of cybersecurity inline device is not allowed. Never allow any vendor to sell you inline cyber defense mechanism, because it might interfere with your process. You can do penetration testing. Usually you do passive testing, asset inventory, inspecting the segregation, and so on. You can do penetration testing only during the period when the system is not active, during the factory acceptance test, or after a big refurbishing, when the system is not active, meaning that no harm to people can happen, then you are allowed to do that. When you do penetration testing, you need to conduct this test, make a conclusion, delete all the program for all devices and reinstalled all the devices, just to be sure that something did not happen during that process. So why is handling of industrial control system? In this case, it was a presentation to a power company, a combined cycle power plant, but no different. It can be a power plant, it can be an oil and gas operation, it can be broad range of systems. So we have a problem. We, the industrial control system experts, we have the problem because we must deal with the huge number of legacy products which are installed and cannot be replaced. Legacy system which cannot be replaced. Why? Because budget, because you cannot stop the factory, and so on. So we cannot interfere with the ICS process. I mean, I cannot stop the system in many cases to do some inspection, to do some testing. I can do maybe some kind of passive inspection or visual inspection, but never stop the system. The problem of people, many organizations do not have cybersecurity experts. They do not have, and because of that, they are trying to use IT people to handle the situation. IT people do not have the knowledge and should not be allowed to deal with industrial control plants. So what can be done? We can always deploy complementing and compensating cyber defense measures, which are not interfering with the process, not interfering, however, provide adequate security. Remember, physical security is precondition to cybersecurity, and cybersecurity is precondition to safety. So anything that you want to do, you must put the safety goal on the top of your priority list. That's the goal. Never conduct any discussion related to industrial control cybersecurity if you are not talking about the concern about safety. So how do we achieve the goal that we will have more people who will be experts? Yes, right now, you may not believe, but there are few hundreds of experts around the world, few hundred, okay, maybe 1,000, but there are not 100,000 experts like IT experts, and this is the reason why organizations must invest in education. That's what I'm doing, educating people, conducting workshops, conducting podcasts like we are doing today, and see what are we doing. We are not talking about how to convince you to buy a box. I'm not talking to you about why certain solution is better than the solution of the competitor. I'm dealing with knowledge transfer, making sure that every organization will have the right people in order to deal with this challenge. So I offer a broad range of training sessions, like 4 hours for managers, 1 day for IT teams who need to learn. I cannot guarantee you that after 1 day they will be expert, but at least after 1 day they will appreciate what they can do, what they cannot do. The standard training is 2 days, general workshop, 16 hours. I'm starting a training for ISACA worldwide organization end of this month. It will be a 16-hour online training, 4 meetings of 4 hours. It can be 5 days typically for universities that people want to learn and people want to spend the time. So I conducted such sessions in Morocco and other countries. Probably some people will be interested in demonstration, and some people may be interested in incident response exercise. So all these things are including. All what we need is to allocate the time and start. Furthermore, remote connection classes are possible, and broad range of classes can be offered. I want to clearly say something very important. I do not have standard training. I do not have a standard slide set. I'm always tuning every training class according to the participating audience. Depending on who is coming, I look at the people, I look at their background, and I deliver the correct presentation, especially if it's a longer presentation. A presentation today, I assume that majority of the people who are listening have knowledge in the area, so it was just a short introduction. So to summarize to summarize this 1 hour, what was planned for 1 hour, I want to encourage you, take this challenge seriously. Put security goals into your specification. Deal only with vendors who take security seriously, vendors who provide you documentation, vendors who are performing factory acceptance test, vendors who are willing to conduct site acceptance test and share with you the result of that test. Do not compromise on requirements. Yes, sometimes we need to pay more money than we expected in order to receive the correct solution. And finally, always be ready for tomorrow's surprises and challenges, because we all know that attackers are improving. They are financed by hostile organizations and hostile countries. In spite of the fact that until now we did not see too many attacks against industrial control systems, but remember that it is enough one attack when people might lose their life, and the opinion of the entire industry and the opinion of managers will change, and suddenly they will be more open to allocate budget. And furthermore, I want to summarize it. Remember and tell this to your managers. Cybersecurity training has the highest return on investment among all possible investment which organizations spend on cybersecurity. Training has the highest ROI. So I complete this session. Please feel free to ask any question, and furthermore, feel free to send me a mail with your questions, because from time to time I always need to learn what is important for people, what they like to know. Please not ask which vendor I recommend, because I'm a vendor independent expert, and my goal is to teach people and improve the cybersecurity posture of organizations worldwide. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone has a question, please ask now or send me a mail if you feel more comfortable, and usually I reply very fast.
Hi, Daniel. Thanks. Puneet, if I may allow, this is Manjunath Hiregange.
Yes. Daniel,
Hi.
John will take care of the vote of thanks. Okay.
Hi.
Please, John.
No, this is Manjunath, Puneet. So I have.
There's a question. Go ahead, Manju.
You want to ask some questions? Go ahead. This is a question answer round.
Okay. Hi, Daniel. First of all, thank you very much for this, the insightful session. Really very much appreciated your insights, and also we can see the expertise in you around 44 years. So that's a huge. So we would like to give a round of applause for your detailed session. However, as a feedback or a suggestion, as we all always learning continuously on the OT ICS security, the first point is probably we may need to touch upon the what we call is as industry 4.0, how we can integrate. You talked about the Purdue model, about level. How about integrating IIoT sensors when comparing to Purdue model? So this is one area where maybe you already have those training as well, but just this is my observation. And also the second thing is the second point is, or what I would like to mention is the statement which you mentioned, that this OT ICS security is specifically for OT expertise. So I have some contradictory statement against this, because most of the security feature what we are seeing is adopted from the IT background, right? So when we people who has the OT knowledge and we learn the security aspects of it and we are securing it. However, the IT people who are really working hard to come into this field, not as a, maybe as a fresher, yes, definitely, but there are certain trainings, as you mentioned, even you have that training as part of your curriculum. So I really appreciate that, we also need to encourage IT people to come to OT, but not, maybe specific to some specific roles. Maybe, we can all guide them. So that is one of my observation. Yeah.
So let me try to answer one-on-one because I may not remember everything.
Yeah. Sorry for that. Yeah, thank you.
Industry 4 is today a new trend which involves digitalization of processes. Okay, I want you to be very careful for that, because large number of Industry 4 processes and IoT processes do not satisfy the expected benefits. Why? Because they were designed under the pressure of salespeople who wanted to sell their boxes. However, I want to say is that 100% of IoT and IIoT devices are increasing the attack surface. So integration of Industry 4 into the industrial control system can be done based on understanding the process and based on understanding the increase of the attack surface, and based on being convinced that you are going to achieve the goals. Related to your topic, that IT people, about IT people, I highly appreciate the situation that IT people are learning the industrial process. I would be very happy to train those people and bring them the correct messages. So in light of the situation that IT people are involved, they must be very careful not to make recommendations and decisions which might interfere with the industrial process. So I'm not, everything is done by people. I cannot tell you because what is right or wrong. My speech is general, okay? Is that IT people must learn the industrial process before they are involved, okay? Let me look at some of the questions. Do you recommend multi-factor authentication? Well, I tell you, multi-factor authentication is a good idea. However, the question is, do we have the authentication service, the Active Directories, everything in the industrial zone? Because if you try to mix the IT and the OT, do the multi-factor authentication in the IT zone, then allow penetration to the OT zone, maybe you have some gap and maybe you have some risk. I can tell you there are several solutions of secure remote access. Some of them are better, some of them are not. But also I must tell you that yes, there are different systems. If you take a high-risk chemical plant, it's not the same as a water utility system. The risks are different, the solutions are different. Some people ask you about micro-segmentation in the OT network. Remember, when you are doing asset inventory with the IDS, you are trying to find out which devices are communicating with which devices. Micro-segmentation is a good idea as long as it is deployed between zones which are not related each to other. Okay, if you try to install a firewall between two zones which are not related each to other, for example, one zone is a unsecured water delivery to the plant, and the other zone is a gas turbine or a water boiler. If you try to put a firewall there, may be a bad idea, because somebody may compromise the firewall, penetrate to your boiler from the less secure side. So everything must be based on understanding of the situation, okay? Never talk about technologies initially. Talk about what is the situation, what we want to solve, what kind of risk might happen if our solution will not be successful, okay? What kind of complementing and compensating security measures can be deployed, and then you make the decision, okay? So we talk about micro-segmentation. Let's see, are there any more questions here? 1 second, there is one. There is one question.
Daniel, sir, good evening. Myself, Mukesh as well. Sir, just I want to understand about the air gap in the cybersecurity. Actually, I learned a lot of things, but exactly I am not able to understand about the air gap.
I tell you, air gap is an absolute physical separation between the IT and the OT. And I tell you that this was the situation until 2010. When the Stuxnet attack happened, which was an internally generated cyber attack, management realized that air gap is no longer a valid defense solution, and they instructed the IT people and the OT people to work together and find secure processes for connecting the IT and the OT. Okay, secured. It can be a data diode, it can be a DMZ, it can be a jump host server, it can be a next generation firewall, but it must be secured. And furthermore, you need to conduct a business impact analysis. What will happen if that segregating device will be compromised? Will it lead to a short outage, or will it lead to safety is assured? There was a question here about penetration testing. Just I don't see it. 1 second, because can you just?
Yeah, have you answered the first one? What are the standard ways of design of IT OT network architecture apart from DMZ and network segmentation?
Well, I tell you, as I said, I think that all kind of VPNs are not strong enough. So if you can deploy a data diode, that's the strongest solution. If you cannot deploy a data diode, consider a bidirectional data diode. Consider a DMZ. But I tell you, usually I don't like to give advices. I like to inspect the architecture, talk to people about risks, and then make a decision.
Okay.
There was a question. There was a question here about penetration testing, right? Where is that question? I don't see it.
Yeah, maybe.
Here it is. NP, I don't know. If penetration testing is not allowed on where it is? It disappeared. Can you bring it back?
Yeah.
If penetration testing is not allowed on product environment, how exactly you can get vulnerability threats to be a basic security solution? So first of all, penetration testing is allowed, but only on a non-active system. Non-active. If you have a system which is shut down for 1 week because somebody is painting the room, yes, conduct a penetration testing, but disconnect it from the machinery or shut down the high-risk machinery. However, if the system is working, there are so many things that you can analyze, so many things. You can, for example, inspect the firewall, remove the firewall, put a temporary firewall and inspect that firewall if that firewall is correctly configured. What is the main problem? The main problem is that without penetration testing, you cannot reconfirm that the configuration is compliant with cybersecurity. That's the problem, okay? So find a way how to do it correctly. I cannot tell you via the short 1-hour call what to do. Find a solution. Bring in an expert who you trust that knows, is intelligent enough in this field, not an IT person, not someone who is trying to sell you a box. Bring a person who is intelligent in this area and have a discussion with him. It might not be a short discussion, it may be a 2-hour discussion, but try to understand what are the alternatives that you can deploy in order to correctly defend your facility.
Okay. Yeah, do you recommend multi-factor authentication on secure remote access to OT environment?
I tell you, secure remote access is provided by several vendors, okay? And you need to talk to each vendor and learn how his authentication process is done. If you are convinced that you have that in your system you have the accessible facilities, okay, then all is fine. Don't just say a multi-factor authentication. Ask how exactly it is done. What kind of bridges that machine is creating between the IT and the OT, and then I think that you can make a fairly good decision. I'm not trying to talk about vendors. Different vendors have different solutions with agents, without agents. But remember, many vendors develop this solution for specific customers. It does not mean that it's good for another customers.
Okay. Can you share your thoughts on micro-segmentation on OT network?
As I said, micro-segmentation is a process for preventing lateral movement, okay? In order to answer that question, need to look at the architecture of the plant, need to architecture of the industrial plant, and then make a decision if what is right and what is wrong. It's not a general answer.
Okay, moving on to next one. We OT people are more involved in process control and maintaining control systems. Hence, we need to borrow the expertise from IT people. How do you see this?
I tell you, first of all, this is correct. This is correct, and I encourage you to do that. However, make sure that IT people are recommending and assisting and not making the decision related to processes which they don't understand.
Okay. Next question. Many times people recommended that IPS is not recommended for OT. However, few customer demands that. What is your view?
Okay, so in general, as a principle, we say no, IPS is not allowed because IPS in intervention. However, if you tell me that, listen, there is a boiler which may explode in 10 minutes from now, and we must allow intervention from our employee who is visiting Hawaii and is on the beach, I say consider to allow that. Remember, safety is more important than cybersecurity, meaning I do not allow IPS for every action. You can prepare an IPS, but activate it subject to risk to life of people, not for other reason.
Okay, and next one. Can you give me an example where security level 4 is applied? I consider nuclear plant, refinery operations, chlorine or ammonia manufacturing facilities are some examples.
Sorry, this is an incorrectly structured question. Security level 4 refers to people and organizations who might attack you. If you are worried about somebody stealing your bicycle, it is security level 1. Security level 4 means that a hostile country with knowledge and resources might attack you. So, and this is the right question, a right answer. It's not referred to the facility, it refers to whom may attack you.
Okay, next one. How do we carry out assessments of adequacy of signatures for firewall, IPS, AV solutions from different vendors?
First of all, I need to say something very critical. If you deploy a firewall in the industrial zone, you have a problem. Why? Because we all know that firewalls must be frequently updated with new signatures, and that industrial plant is not connected to the internet, for sure, not allowed to have updates. So I tell you, if you ask people how often they are doing software updates in their system, not be surprised if they will tell you once a year. Once a year. Why? Because they are deploying, complementing, and compensating measures as alternative to frequent patching. Frequent patching is not allowed. Why? Because every software base might generate a risk to operating safety and reliability, period. So don't rush to update the software of a live system. At any moment, something can happen, and you never understood why it happened. You can update a PLC or update a control center, and suddenly the whole plant will go to a bad condition.
All right. Thank you. What is a good starting point to learn about ICS-OT security? Which document or website?
First of all, you can Google documents under my name, and you can learn from it. You can read the document NIST 882 or NIST 853 or NIST Framework 1.1, and believe me, if you read all these documents, you will be expert.
Okay. What key skills are required? Is IT actually about making the IT security person aware about OT architecture for him to apply IT security principles?
Take a training of an expert who will teach you what is OT architecture, what are the applications, what are the risks, and all will be fine.
All right. Thanks for your response. What is the main difference between risk assessment and penetration testing?
Penetration testing is an action to detect vulnerabilities. Risk assessment, no, sorry, there is a mistake here. Risk assessment is 3.2, not 3.3. 3.3 is security design. Okay, so when you do want-to assessment, you need to refer to 62443 para 3.2, not 3.3. 3.2 is a holistic approach to cybersecurity in the industrial facility.
Okay, okay. All right. We'll just take one more question and we'll end the session. How to assess our systems as per 62443 How to start and where to start?
As I said again, 3.3 is security design. Security, I suggest that you obtain the full 3.2 document and learn from that. There is a nice process, or take the training on 62443 and you will receive that information.
All right. I think we can end the session. It's already getting late here. Thank you very much, Daniel, for joining us today, and appreciate all the audience. We had around 80 people. I think it was last minute information, but it was a good crowd for a late night session on cybersecurity. Hope everyone learned a lot. Thank you, and look forward to having another discussion with you. The other questions will be asked to share on the group, and maybe you can answer that whenever you're free.
Okay, perfect, guys. Think about organizing a training so people will have a real opportunity to learn, and then we make a big step ahead.